Welcome once again to Breakfast Central. Now, women have been historically disadvantaged in participating in politics. Africa and the rest of the world are far from achieving 50% women's representation in politics at all levels of governance. In 2021, Africa was at 24% of women's representation in parliament. In West Africa, Nigeria currently ranks 181 out of 193 countries on the Gender Equality Index, and countries with low women representation in governance, which translates to the low representation of women in governance and politics. Inadequate legal framework and also limited capacity to support women's empowerment and equality efforts. Now, there have been joint initiatives, drum rolling the call for women in leadership by addressing this anomaly and supporting outstanding visionary female political candidates in the campaign process to get elected into office. Now, joining us this morning is women's rights and gender equality advocate, a multimedia journalist with over 20 years of work experience. We'll say good morning to Hawwah Gambo. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you having me here.
So the statistics, for Nigeria and of course for the rest of Africa, are pretty poor. One or two countries might, seem a little better than Nigeria. But I want you to share your thoughts on why it is so poor here in Nigeria.
You see, just like the challenges bedeviling the country, the reasons behind the low representation of women in politics in this country is diverse and monumental and quite several. So we can't say there is just one more reason, but I can name a few. You need to remember and understand that we run a very patriarchal society. And you know what patriarchy means. Automatically disadvantages, making women disadvantaged to many things. Secondly, because of patriarchy as well, lack of economic power. Politics is a platform for representation, expression of agency and rights, and you need a certain amount of economic power to be able to do that. And women generally, at least to be safe, let's say 80% of Nigerian women are economically disadvantaged. And when you have no economic advantage, you have no voice. And when you have no voice, you cannot have political representation.
And so how much damage has that done to the voice of women, generally? And of course, this, includes in lawmaking, with healthcare, with education, in every aspect.
Tremendous. Because when you look at the statistics of many things, let me take you back. We are in 2022, but we are still talking about girl child education. We are still talking about maternal mortality. We're still talking about infant mortality. That is to tell you a lot. And we are also talking about widows' rights. We're also talking about a lot of things like economic empowerment, which should be basic. Because we all know, everyone knows that when a woman is economically empowered, her family is the first to benefit, especially her children. Look at the out-of-school children. You think if the mothers of these children had economic empowerment, their children would be on the streets? They wouldn't be.
That's a really pathetic thing. But I want us to, also speak about some of these women who have been able to at least, they say break the glass ceiling and make it to those heights. And that's the former Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. She was president from January 2006 to 2018. She was Africa's first elected president, or female president rather, who served 2 consecutive terms after winning in 2005 and 2011 presidential elections. We also have, of course, the president, or rather Rosa Francine Rugombe, who was the interim president of Gabon from 2009, June to October 2009. She served as interim president of Gabon just briefly for a few months after the death of President Omar Bongo. And of course, you can see this might be an example of someone who maybe not have even made it there, if not, for, of course, the unfortunate death of Gabon's president. Saleh Zewde, who's the president of Ethiopia. She was, of course, elected in October 2018 till now. She's the first elected female president of Ethiopia and currently the only female out of 54 presidents in Africa. Shocking. Of course, these are some of the things that, really just paint a very clear picture of what the situation truly is. But these are some of the women, and I want to ask you, in response to your first, the first things you said, that women are economically disadvantaged. So these are some of the women who've been able to make it that far. And even if you look at the situation here in Nigeria, there's women who have somehow, some way, been able to make it into the House of Representatives, the Senate. There's never been a governor, but how did those women get that far? And what stops other women from doing the same things?
I think that is a very rather bogus question, if I must say, because only this woman would be able to tell you how they got as far as they did. Every woman has her own unique journey, and she's the only person that can tell you about her own unique journey. Also, I always say that the path to success is specifically designed for each one of us to follow. My path might not necessarily be the path of my friend or my sister,
yes,
or the person next to me if you are a female. We all have our own unique path, even though it leads to the same destination. So there are several other paths. There are a lot of other people who can get there, women who can get there either by being from politically elitist families. There are those who can get there by their dogged hard work and perseverance and doggedness. Yeah. There are those who can get there by following through the ranks in a political hierarchy, starting from being political party members, serving like just the way every other person will serve.
Which will take some time.
It will take some time. Exactly. And there are those who will get there based on merit of yes. their own political career achievements as professionals and intellectuals.
Yes.
So there are different ways.
Now, we've been able to establish, some of the major challenges. Mm-hmm. What do you think is, the most important things or the steps that need to be taken if we need to improve on these numbers? If we need to get more female presidents, we need to get more female governors, more female House of Rep members, or National Assembly members, and some of all of that. What would be the very first steps that need to be taken? Because you're not going to end patriarchy in a few weeks.
No, absolutely not. Neither are you going to fill up the numbers in a few years either. It will take a lot of hard work, deliberate, intentional hard work, and a longer time to achieve. But most importantly, what needs to be done is to recognize the efforts of women who are putting in the work to get there, and also provide enabling platforms and spaces for them to be supported. The journey into politicking is a very lonely one. Now, you know that women, we have a lot of stereotypes and beliefs that hold us back. And the political space especially has had a very sore reputation over the years. Like in a lot of societies, women who are engaging in politics, due to the fact that they have to be vocal, they have to be out there, they have to be outstanding and rub shoulders with men. They called a lot of unprintable names. They are being perceived to have a sour reputation, either irresponsible, loose, or whatever. Yes. So as a result of that, very few women have the courage to get there because they feel like they don't want to compromise on their reputation or something like that. So it's a very lonely journey for some of us who are able to have the courage to venture in there. So most importantly, support needs to be provided for women and by women. Everyone else's support, of course, is very integral. But there is something about a woman's sisterhood, a woman's supportive cycle that hits differently. Like I came to Lagos to attend the WISCA annual leadership and mentorship conference, where I was privileged to be on the same panel with Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, who was awarded with the first award for the posthumous award, Grace Alele Williams posthumous award. And she said, there's something about being celebrated by your own in your own home that makes it sweeter, and it hits differently. So it's the same thing with having a supportive women's sisterhood and bond when you're on this lonely journey.
So would this be a message now to women, across the country and across the continent, that whenever there is, an opportunity to support a woman to get into political office, or leadership, position, that women must.
Absolutely. This is a message, not just political office. I'm glad you corrected yourself, but every life endeavor, because every life endeavor is a leadership, journey, is the leadership trajectory, is a leadership position. Because when you're taking steps to improve on yourself, to improve on your family, to improve on your society, to impact on the people in your life and the surroundings of the society, that you're taking a leadership position even if you don't know it. So it is very vital that women give support in any way they can: financial, moral, physical support, whatever kind of support is support.
What would your response be to people who say, and maybe also, do you also agree or not, that there are also very vital roles that women can play without necessarily being in those leadership positions or in those political offices, that they also have a very vital role in society to play? And if they are given the freedom to play those roles, then we would have a seemingly balanced society. What would your argument be against that?
I think that is a very narrow viewpoint of what leadership is. Leadership is not a strict, jacketed, designed out route based on our own perceptions. The leadership position a person would be suitable for is not designed by someone else. They know. They know it. So if we confine women to only a strategic, specific leadership position based on our own perception, we're not only limiting them, but we're also depriving the society of the impact they can bring.
Absolutely.
So,
Hawwah Gambo, thank you so much for stopping by and for sharing your thoughts with us. It's a very important conversation, and I've always said it's one of the things that I'm personally passionate about. I want to see more women in government. I want to see more women in leadership positions, because we can always tell the difference when there's a woman making decisions, and you can tell it in every sphere that you've seen in the world. So thank you for your time, for stopping by.
Welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime.